And we are back with another episode of Straight Out the Lou. As always, I'm Dylan, joined by Luke and Chris. And today we are coming to you from Bates College following Week 2 of the NFL, Week 3 of college football, and the end of the regular season for the MLB. Today we got some takes on the NFL, a little update on college football, big game this weekend between Luke's Florida Gators and the Alabama Crimson Tide, and the Red Sox still holding on to the first wild card spot, and the Giants barely holding on to the division lead in the NL West. All right, so Justin Herbert this past weekend, tough loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Dak outdueled him. What did we see from the highly touted sophomore quarterback?
Go ahead.
I mean, we've talked about it quite a bit. This guy sucks. I mean, it's the bottom line. He's not good at football. Completely outplayed by Dak Prescott, as you said, Dylan. And we watched this game, and I know the stat line will say he had 2 interceptions, but frankly, he had 3 interceptions in this game. One of those in the red zone at the end of the game. And he gagged in week 1 as well. Maybe not on that last drive, but he tried to give it away in week 1 as well. I mean, we're just seeing – we saw it last year. We saw it in college. We're seeing it again. Right here, he loves to give games away. This guy sucks. That's why he's the 32nd best quarterback in the league. Embarrassing performance.
Couldn't have said it better myself right there. This guy just struggles when he has the ball in pressure situations, as we see time and time again. And 3 picks this week, 1 pick last week in the red zone. Again, 2 red zone interceptions this year. You can't have that. You can't win games that way. And the national media still will find ways to blame the Chargers, which is ridiculous. And they blame the Chargers defense, who gave up 20 points against one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So Chargers played well enough to win that game. They had a couple penalties on the offensive side, no doubt about that, but you got to overcome those penalties in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had 10 penalties for over 100 yards, something like that. I mean, that's just unacceptable. Herbert did have 8.2 yards per attempt. You know, he's still airing it out, doing his thing, but the decision-making is not there. Clearly not there. The guy doesn't know when to throw the ball away. I mean, there was that one play. He was getting chased down by Micah Parsons. He just made a terrible throw running backwards. It's tough to watch this guy because I think everybody knows he's talented. It's just there's something going on between his ears right now that's just not quite putting him where he should be. Good quarterback, though, I think.
He stinks under pressure, and we see it every week and every year, every time, big games, anything. You knew the Chargers were only going to score less than 20 points again. They've scored, 20 and 17 points? Like, come on, put the ball in the end zone.
And this is a team that had the number 1 rated offensive line in week 1. And we hear all about how bad the Chargers roster is. We know they have great receivers. Their defense has played well. And the number 1 offensive line in the league apparently now after week 1. So this is all on Justin Herbert.
The Chiefs are 1-1. The Broncos are 2-0. The Raiders are 2-0. And the Chargers are 1-1. How do we see that division playing out?
Yeah, I think the Raiders have come out and shocked everybody a little bit, especially with wins over the Ravens and the Steelers, 2 solid football teams that have been around for a while that are well coached. But I still think the Chiefs are going to win that division, obviously. You know, that's the most talented team in football. I think the Broncos are going to come in second. I think that defense is really elite. And unfortunately, despite the Raiders' hot start, I still see them coming in 3rd place and the Chargers finishing in last.
Yeah, I agree. I have the same standings. I mean, Denver's defense is pretty good. Bridgewater's good enough to not lose you games. And I think Derek Carr will lose you games at times. He's playing well right now. But I don't see that continuing. And obviously, I mean, the Chargers are going to come in last because they have a problem at quarterback, and we saw it this weekend. But, yeah, Kansas City's going to win the division.
Yeah, if I look at all these teams coming out of week 2, the Raiders are surprising, right? So
100%, yeah. They played well.
Chiefs, Broncos were locked for my top 2 in this division, and I think they're still locked there. That defense for the Broncos, solid. Bridgewater, good guy, good quarterback. He's got some weapons there on that offense. Courtland Sutton's looking good. Jerry Jeudy will be back later. KJ Hamler, no offense. Right. But, yeah, the Raiders in 3rd, I think you have to go there right now. I mean, this team's proven themselves. They're really proven themselves. On defense, too, they're looking somewhat formidable, right? Max Crosby, menace. He's not he's not getting stopped right now by anybody, right? So, yeah, I think Herbert and the Chargers might end up finishing in last place in a year where a lot of people were betting on them to make the playoffs, which is really surprising. But I think it will be a wake-up call that Straight Out the Lou has been on, at least two-thirds of Straight Out the Lou has been on for quite a while now. So, we always say it, but
What we do.
we do speak things into existence here on this podcast. It does happen, so stay tuned. Stay tuned. So Bates Student, the newspaper here on campus at Bates College, has decided to publish Straight Out the Lou because our content is so unbelievably well done. So this past week, we put out a column following week 2 of the NFL where we went over the biggest surprise of the NFL season so far, the 0-2 team most likely to make the playoffs, and also our MVP picks through the first 2 weeks of the season. So let's go over those questions for all the viewers watching on YouTube in case they don't have access to the Bates Student, although it is a public newspaper. So, biggest surprise so far through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. What do you guys got?
Yeah, so I went with the 49ers here, and they started off 2-0, which you cannot complain about. That's where you want to be right when you start the year. But this is the team that has Super Bowl aspirations here. The first 2 quarters of the season, I mean, you can't ask for much better than that. They come out playing hard, but I expected them to be like that throughout these first 2 weeks, and they don't seem Jimmy Garoppolo does not seem like he's playing like a quarterback with his job on the line here. Like, your job's on the line, like you're trying to win a job, and you can't just be going out there and being average. And that's what he's been. He's been an average quarterback. He's had a few deep balls to Deebo Samuel, some terrible throws. The fumble's unacceptable. 13 points against the Eagles, unacceptable. It's just they've been disappointing so far for a team that I thought was going to come out flying with all that talent and all those guys being hungry to get back out there. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see.
There's a lot of hate on Jimmy, always.
They're my NFC champion too. So I mean, maybe that's why I'm surprised. Maybe I thought they were better.
Over the Bucs, really? Okay. Jimmy, great game manager, great game manager. And I think game managers are underrated in today's league with all the talent that's coming out of college. Guys get overlooked a lot. But then you have a guy like Mac Jones, doing his job, being a game manager, best rookie quarterback right now. And then there's the veterans doing their jobs too. Jimmy Garoppolo has not turned the ball over this year yet. That's probably the largest downfall of his game is he turns the ball over a lot, makes some bad throws. Well, he fumbled one time on a weird snap, yes, in the Lions game.
Just dropped it.
But he has made some bad throws. He's missed some guys here and there, but he's also had some really good throws. That throw to Deebo Samuel in a tight window in the Eagles game in the second half to lead them to a score. That was huge, right? I mean, they had an 8-minute drive in the second half of that Eagles game. You can't overlook that. And that's what Kyle Shanahan's offense is with Jimmy Garoppolo under center is run the ball, control the ball, don't turn the ball over. And they've done that pretty well so far with Jimmy under center. Obviously, he's not airing it out. That's just not him. But I know what you mean.
His incompletions have been ugly. They've been to open receivers.
Yes, I would agree. But when you look at the stats, he's doing what he's got to do.
All right, I went with the Raiders here. We already talked a little bit about how much of a surprise they've been, beating who we think are good teams, the Ravens and the Steelers. And Derek Carr's been really good, surprisingly. I mean, I don't think anybody really expected that. The biggest concern I have with the Raiders is they still can't run the ball. They're only averaging 2.9 yards per carry in the first 2 games of the season. And if you're going to rely on Derek Carr for the whole season, that's not going to go well. So a couple good games for Carr, but I don't see that continuing. That said, they've been a big surprise the first couple games.
My biggest surprise so far, I went with the Tennessee Titans. Following their Week 1 loss, this was clearly one of the biggest surprises in the NFL. They got blown out by the Cardinals. But came back Week 2, had a really good win against the Seahawks in Seattle. But the thing is, I didn't overlook this, and I don't think you guys did either, but a lot of NFL analysts did. Their defense is horrid. They lost Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler, and Jadeveon Clowney. So they're losing starters at the line of scrimmage and in the secondary. and they're just getting run all over. They're getting passed all over, and they gave up a wide open touchdown to Seattle in the second half to put Seattle ahead. I mean, it's tough to be a contender in this league when you have zero defense. The Chiefs, they get by with a decent enough defense when they need it to be decent, right? But I don't think Tennessee's going to be able to do that this year. So right now, my biggest surprise, even though I was anticipating it, is how bad Tennessee's defense is.
I don't think that's a bad point at all, but just to play devil's advocate here, they played amazing in the fourth quarter and overtime in that game.
Yeah. No, I can't take away what they did in Seattle. Seattle, too, against the Seahawks in the end of the game. I mean, they did what they had to do to win. That's all it is. Get a win. Move on.
But be better all around, 100%.
Yeah. Just somewhat like the Niners, although the Niners have played better defense. Just other side of the ball for the Titans.
100%.
Going into the second question from the column, which 0-2 team do you guys have making the NFL playoffs?
Now, I don't know if they're necessarily going to be in the NFL playoffs here for me, but I have the Minnesota Vikings, a team that had a tough loss to Arizona on a missed field goal. They have a great running game. I think everybody knows that. I think everybody knows they're limited at quarterback, though, with Kirk. But they have great guys. They have great skill guys on both offense and defense. And if they establish the defensive line this year, which they did not do last year, there's no reason this team shouldn't be able to go 10-7. And with the questions going on in the NFC North, like what's Justin Fields going to be? The Packers still have all these questions. I mean, they just blasted the Lions. You can't tell much. Like the Patriots beating the Jets. You can't tell much from that game. But there's a lot of questions going on. Can a 10-7, an 11-6 sneak a division title in the NFC North? It could.
Well, you seem to be forgetting the Bears are going to be 11-6.
Well, of course, yeah.
Of course, obviously.
Yeah. A little bit of a stretch here, but the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to believe it. I picked the New York Giants. This division is awful. We know the Eagles suck. We know the Cowboys will be underachieving, probably win 8 or 9 games, and the football team really has not been very impressive either. Now, the Giants and the football team played last week, and I thought the Giants were the better team in that game. They really shot themselves in the foot for most of that game. This is a talented football team. Good defense. Their offensive line sucks. The quarterback sucks. But they have decent weapons. Other than the Cowboys, are the most talented team in the division, and the Cowboys will implode. The Giants have a soft schedule. Look out. The Giants can win this division. Look out.
I think this division's not as bad as you're making out to be. I mean, the Cowboys had Brady throwing 2 interceptions week 1, almost won that game in Tampa Bay.
Screen pass off Fournette's hands in his chest and Hail Mary, 2 interceptions.
2 interceptions.
But
they lost that game. Defense. They lost that game by 2 points. And then they come back and have a game-winning drive against the Chargers, who, people think is a good team. We just went over that, obviously, though. I mean, whatever. I think the Cowboys are a solid team this year. I think their defense is actually somewhat above average this year. And Dak's going to be Dak. Dak's lethal. I mean, come on, top 5 guy. So I think Cowboys are solid. I think the football team's going to be okay. And then the Eagles. I'm surprised by Jalen Hurts here. He's looking pretty damn good through the first 2 weeks. So I think it's going to be a tougher division than people, normally would look at the NFC East and think, right?
No, I'm in full agreement, Sims.
We'll see.
Hurts has looked good, but, I mean, that roster sucks.
They have a good defense. Their defensive line's good. Brandon Graham, I know, got hurt, so I think he's out, but it's a good defense. So my 0-2 team to make the playoffs, this was before Carson Wentz, or before it was known that Mr. Carson Wentz had sprained both of his ankles.
Shocking that he's hurt. I cannot believe it.
Exactly.
Not sure. Gets hurt.
Yeah. Not sure who's going to be taking the helm there. Is it Eason? Is it Jacob Eason?
Jacob Eason, Georgia legend.
So Eason will be under center for the Colts from here on out. But I have the Colts as my team simply because the AFC South sucks. It sucks. You have the Titans, you have the Jaguars, you have the Texans, you have the Colts. So I'm looking at this division. I know they're going to play all these teams twice. I think the Colts are going to be able to get over 4 yards per carry down the stretch. They haven't cracked 4 with Jonathan Taylor through the first 2 weeks. So, that O-line, they're not going to be able to – they're not going to stay under 4 yards per carry with that O-line and Jonathan Taylor.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but when we unfortunately do during our hiatus, I told you that I threw out a hot take that the Colts could start 0-6. Do you remember me saying that at all?
I don't remember specifically, but
their schedule
sucks.
Is really tough. I don't like the pick. I like the Colts as a football team. Like, I think that's a solid team, a well-coached team too. But that's a tough schedule. Losing your quarterback too, trying to get a new guy in a first-team reps. It's definitely a valid point on the AFC South. They could still make the playoffs, but they could also be 0-6 here in 4 weeks.
I think following week 3, we'll really know what's going to happen with this Colts team, even though Carson Wentz won't be under center. They are at Tennessee this Sunday, so that's going to be a big game.
Then they got somebody else too. I think they're in San Francisco.
They have the next, you said 0-6. The next 4 weeks, they go to Tennessee. They go to Miami. Tua's out though, so I don't know.
Yeah, Tua's out. I forgot he was out. So that's I would have had Miami in that game.
Yeah. So then they go to Baltimore in week 5, and then week 6
they'll beat the Texans.
Week 6 they have the Texans.
Okay, so it was 0-5 or yeah. But we'll see.
We'll see. Moving into the next question from the column, MVP picks through week 2.
Yeah, I think me and Sims, we can just speak. I can speak for Sims here with Tom Brady. This guy's just got an embarrassment of riches down there with Godwin and Evans and Gronk and Cameron Brate as your third tight end. Like, it's a bit ridiculous. He looks sharp. He's still doing everything he's done his whole career. His arm doesn't look like it's fallen off at all. Doesn't look like he's fallen off a cliff. He's moving in the pocket just as well. And he's thrown 9 touchdowns. So you can't ignore the 9 touchdowns. Right now he's my MVP. High QBR. Not just coming from a New England fan. I think Kyler Murray's played well. I think Mahomes has obviously played well. There's been some guys that have played well, but I don't think any better than Tom Brady.
Brady's going to be the best player on the best team at the end of the season too.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. 9 touchdowns already, and they're going to play 17 games. He might break the record this year. So it's just absurd what he's doing. And I agree with you, Luke. MVP.
Real quick, so Brady's on pace right now to have over 40 touchdowns through 17 games.
Well, he's on pace right now, 4.5 tutties a game.
So what are we thinking for a touchdown total for Tom at the end of the year? 57.
Whew.
Yeah, I think he's going to break the record too, somewhere 56 or 57. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, he very well can. I mean, I think going into this season, I was watching ESPN this morning, and going into this season, the talk around the Bucs locker room was Brady's going to have his best year ever, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you also got to give credit to the offensive line there too. I mean, those guys that's a great offensive line. So you got to look at the whole football field and understand that this team is probably the best system for a quarterback to be in, and you have the best quarterback. It's tough to pick against him.
Yeah. So my pick was out of the NFC West, Kyler Murray. This is a guy who has 9 total touchdowns through the first 2 weeks, but he has 7 passing touchdowns. 3 interceptions is the issue. This is a guy who's turned the ball over a good amount through his first 2 seasons in the NFL, and 3 interceptions against he had 1 against the Titans and then 2 against the Vikings. They didn't end up hurting his teams. They ended up going, 2-0 through the first 2 weeks. But if Kyler Murray keeps this touchdown pace up, keeps the yards up, and he gets some big wins against the NFC West teams, he very well could be in the conversation. I mean, last year he was projected to be, top 3 MVP candidate. Kind of fell off a little bit. But this year I think he can get it done. The offense is looking pretty solid. Just sticking to the ground game is going to be an issue for this team when the pass game isn't opening up right away. But I think Kyler Murray is a pretty good bet at this point of the year.
I mean, yeah, he's been sensational so far. He's willed the Cardinals to 2 wins. He's been that good. So I mean, it's a good pick. He kind of started off hot last year too, though, little fade. But I think the Arizona roster's deeper. The coaching's definitely questionable. So, that's a good pick. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, we'll see once they start playing NFC West teams. They'll really start, getting a better idea of what's going to really happen there.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Tennessee defense isn't lighting up the world right now. So
no, but going into Minnesota, getting a win, albeit a win that should not be a win.
They will this team to winning game-winning drive.
Yep, exactly. Any other points you guys want to touch on in the NFL before we move on?
I'd like to talk about Mac Jones. I think he's looked good the first 2 weeks of the season. He's done his job. He hasn't turned the ball over. I think McDaniels needs to open the playbook up a little bit. I think it's a little too predictable right now. I don't understand this toss play that we now run at least once a drive. It just sucks. It just doesn't do anything. But Patriots playing the Jets, that's a game of momentum. You want to look good. You want to be sharp. I don't think the Patriots were very sharp. I think they have a lot to improve on. Belichick said that. Belichick's talking about better coaching, better playing. But, again, a win is a win. But I was expecting the Patriots to be a little more sharp. But I think the team has helped Mac Jones be comfortable in that locker room, and he's been a good leader so far.
Yeah. First of all, that was one of the worst performances in the history of football from a team that I've ever seen than what the Jets put out there on Sunday. They were terrible. Zach Wilson sucks. And to be honest, the Patriots suck too. I am completely out on this team. They were much better in week 1 than they were last week, despite the penalties and the fumbles in week 1. They're still not a disciplined team. Their red zone offense is terrible. It's dreadful. That's not an NFL caliber red zone offense. They get down to the 25, 30-yard line, and they stall every single time. It's completely unacceptable. That's the biggest problem right now, along with their soft defense. So I don't think this team is very good. I expect a loss this week to the Saints. Saints are a better team. But yeah, Mac Jones he's been fine. He's been fine. He's been a good game manager, and that's what you need when you have a good team. Unfortunately, the Patriots don't have a good team. So I don't see this team winning any more than 7 games.
Can't get behind that. This team's good. It's a good team. Albeit they had a tough loss week 1 to the Dolphins. But I think they're 2-1 coming out of Sunday. I don't know what's going on in New Orleans, but it's not consistent, and Bill Belichick picks apart inconsistent. So I don't think Jameis is going to be able to throw for more than a touchdown on Sunday, and I think they'll, decently shut down Alvin Kamara. Mac Jones is going to have to do his job. I think they're going to be 2-1 coming out of Sunday, and I think this will be a 9-10 win team, all said and done. Moving on, college football this past weekend. Highlight of the weekend was Florida having Bama come to town, putting up a battle, only losing by 2 points. Luke, you want to take it away?
I mean, listen, Dan Mullen has never beaten Alabama before as a head coach in college football. But every time this guy plays Alabama, it's a 1-score game. That's something you got to respect. Florida was ready to go. They were not scared of this team. I was very happy with the performance because, that's a tough team. Everybody knows it's Alabama. They got better athletes than you, and that was the difference in the game, just their athletes. And a couple calls that I want to address here. Kaiir Elam, pass interference call. I don't know what you guys think on that play, but I think that's one of the worst calls I've ever seen in professional and college football history. He doesn't even lay a hand on him. There's no jamming. There's no nothing going on. I don't know how that's a penalty. Bama opens the game up 21-3 in the first quarter from the penalty. There was a pick play that wasn't called. Emory Jones throws an early pick. I thought he responded wonderfully. I think the offensive line deserves so much credit in this game. Florida was able to run for over 250 yards of offense. I mean, that's great. That's a great sign right there. We knew we had a strong running back core. We were able to play to our strengths. When you're playing a team like Bama, whenever you can play to your strengths, that's great. And I think the defense is very, very good this year. This is a top 10 team in college football. You're just playing an SEC schedule, and you got to play Alabama and Georgia. Those are two unwinnable games. Florida, I'm very impressed with the performance both on the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball. You know, it's a good game. It was a great game.
They're a top 5 team, not top 10. They're 5th,
so.
but they're top 5.
Okay,
I think so.
All right. We've gone way off the rails. Florida's a good team. They're a good team. And by the way, the biggest difference in the game, if they make their extra point, they're playing in overtime.
See, that's not true. Bama's scoring with 3:30.
You got to make the extra
No,
point.
but Bama, it is 31-31. Bama's getting a field goal there.
No.
It says yes, they are. They are.
So, Florida's a good team, but they do this all the time. They always play up and down to competition. They gave Alabama last year was one of the best teams we've seen in a while. And Florida, and they were good. Florida was a good team last year. They gave Alabama a good game in the SEC championship. And they also went and played LSU and completely laid an egg. So I'm expecting Florida to be up and down to competition again, frankly. I think they're good. They're a top 15 team. But I think this is just another instance of them playing up and down to competition. They almost got him, too. They almost got Alabama, which would have set them up really well for the rest of the season. But one thing, usually this doesn't happen to Alabama teams. I think Alabama is kind of gettable this year, which is why I still think Georgia's the best team in the country. Alabama's really good, but they haven't been dominant. They didn't dominate Florida like they do a lot of other teams. So I think I'm going with Georgia over them.
I mean, the huge takeaway has got to be Florida stopping the run and Bama not being able to stop the run, right? When we see the Georgia-Alabama matchup, Georgia's just going to run it down Bama's throat all day long.
Alabama's great defense. Excellent. They're excellent defense that you guys were talking about last week.
Florida's got a really good running game, though.
Alabama does not have a great defense.
They got a really good running game. They got 4 running backs back there that are all going to be NFL running backs one day.
They have a good running game, but Alabama is not they don't have a good defense.
Okay. Let's put this into some context because our episode from last week got scratched. Chris, you said Penn State has a better defense than Bama. I'm pretty sure I heard you right?
Correct. That's correct.
So that's a reach. That's a big reach.
That's true.
Would Penn State beat Florida today at a neutral site?
Yes.
No, they would not.
Yes, they would.
No, they would not.
Better. Penn State's better than Florida.
Penn State played it close with Auburn through most of that game at a whiteout game.
Auburn's a good team.
Is Auburn a better team than Florida?
Nope.
So at a neutral site, Florida
would
lose to Penn State.
Penn State would beat Florida. Penn State's a better team.
This is ridiculous. Penn State's going to finish the season with 2 losses, and you're going to be eating your words.
They
play Iowa. They play Iowa. They're losing. They're going to lose. They're losing to Iowa.
They're probably going to lose to Iowa and Ohio State.
Their quarterback sucks.
10-2. They're still better than Florida.
That's better than going 10-2 in the SEC.
I just think they're a better team than Florida. Florida is going to lose to Georgia, and they'll probably lose to another team.
I think Florida has better corners. I think Florida has better defensive linemen. I think Florida has better receivers, and I think Florida has a better quarterback, and I think Florida has a better running game.
I think
Florida has a way better coach.
Yeah, way better coach.
I think Florida has a better running back. Penn State has better defense.
Florida has a better quarterback.
Quarterback.
You saw that.
I meant to say quarterback. Florida's a better quarterback. Penn State is a much better defense. And I'll take Penn State's weapons as well.
Who? Who are those? Who are those guys?
Dawson's always open. And Clifford, the big red dog, never hits him because he sucks. Sean Clifford sucks. I will say that.
So then what's the point in having this really good receiver if you can't get the ball to him?
Well, they have a great talent around the quarterback who sucks. If they had a quarterback, they'd be a playoff team, but they don't. So.
This is just Sims in the Big Ten, just hyping it up again, just like you did for March Madness last year, and then they ended up sucking like I predicted.
Well, what happened?
You're just hyping the Big Ten up.
Let's talk about this Penn State-Auburn game because I remember in our episode that got scratched, I was hearing about these SEC boys and how they're going to go into Penn State, and they were going to win easily. Auburn was going to go, and they were going to wipe Penn State. What happened in that game?
Auburn got screwed. First of all, you're running a trick play out of the half. Like, what the hell's that? I mean, what are you doing? Penn State won this game just because of turnovers, and they won the penalty battle in the whiteout. They always win the penalty battle in the whiteout. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. ESPN just needs them to be good. It's pathetic.
They're a better
team.
They're better.
It's pathetic. That was a pathetic. I knew you knew Penn State was going to win. I didn't deny that Penn State was going to win. I told you because it's a whiteout game. They're going to win just because they're going to get calls and they're just going to be able to win. It's just,
They're just a better team. They're better than Auburn.
they're not. They're really not.
All right, let's wrap up the college football segment with top fives.
Bama 1, Georgia 2, Oregon 3, Florida 4, Oklahoma 5. Iowa 5. Iowa 5.
I cannot believe that you guys have Florida in the top. I just seriously can't believe it.
Iowa 5.
Georgia 1, Alabama 2, Oklahoma 3, Iowa 4, Oregon 5.
No Clemson.
No, I think they're probably one of the 5 best teams, but they're not. They haven't earned that spot. They've played awful.
Okay, I'm going to go Bama, Georgia, Oregon, Iowa, Florida. I don't like Oklahoma. I do not like Spencer Rattler in Oklahoma. They're not going to win a big game.
List the 5 best teams in college football sims, not your rankings.
The 5 best teams, Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Clemson. And I don't know what order, but those are the 5 best teams.
The best teams win home games against Pac-12 teams, and Ohio State didn't do that.
They didn't, but they won't lose the rest of the season. They'll probably still make the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. All right, transitioning here. The AL wildcard race is heating up, but the Red Sox have won 6 in a row. The Giants have the Dodgers 1 game away from them in the NL West. How are the Red Sox looking, guys?
Red Sox are looking good. Stay focused, 1 game at a time. Big series coming up against the Yankees. It's going to be all hyped up. All the media, everybody's going to be fired up for it. Stay focused. Put the ball in play. Field the ball. Play fundamental baseball. And keep this hot streak going here. That's what we want. We need to make the playoffs. We need to make playoffs. And they played well recently. You know, I don't really have much to say. Like, it's kind of just like, do what you've done all year that's gotten you in this position to finish the job.
Yeah, I don't know how this team wins games. I seriously don't understand it. They're so bad. They're awful. Yeah. And they've managed to win 6 games in a row, and that's credit to them. They fought through this. And, you know, part of the reason they've been winning, obviously because of the jerseys, which they're going to keep wearing until they lose, apparently. So what I really like what the Red Sox have done over the last week is they have gone to a 4-man rotation, which they can do with the days off remaining for the rest of the season. It shows me as a fan that they are fully committed and all in on this season, going to their 4 best pitchers for the rest of the year. And they're going to start Eovaldi, Pivetta, and Rodriguez this weekend, and Sale's going to pitch a couple more times the rest of the season. Just don't get swept by the Yankees, and you'll make the playoffs. Because you got the Orioles and Nationals. You cannot lose 3 games on the Yankees this weekend. You can lose 1 if you lose 2 out of 3. But don't get swept this weekend, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed with the Red Sox yesterday. I mean, the long ball's there for them. Pitching is subpar, but it's, you know, Chris Sale at the top of that rotation. Can't really complain with that. I think Boston will hold on to the top wild card spot. I think Toronto will probably finish in that 2nd spot. Who do you guys have finishing in the 1 and 2 for the wild card?
1 Red Sox, 2 Yankees.
I think the Blue Jays will jump the Red Sox, and the Red Sox will be 2nd. The Yankees' schedule is awful to finish the season. They finished with the Rays and the Yankees, and the Blue Jays, sorry. And I'll just take the Blue Jays to win that series. The Red Sox, I'm fully guaranteed. I'm fully convinced the Red Sox are going to try to give it away in that last series in Washington. Just fully convinced of that. That would be something they would do.
I'm going to give another guarantee. My 1 guarantee, obviously, was Texas A&M was going to lose tragically to Florida last year, which didn't happen. So I'm kind of hoping that I'm stay 0-2 with the guarantees. I guarantee Major League Baseball and I'll let the New York Yankees miss the playoffs. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But it's the New York Yankees, and it's the Bronx. It's October. The Major League Baseball does not want the Toronto Blue Jays in there over the New York Yankees. The Blue Jays are going to have their time in the future with Vlad and Bo Bichette in them. They're not going to let Garrett Cole versus Chris Sale not happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I mean, a Red Sox-Yankees wild card game? I mean, come on, that doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In the NL West, the Giants, they need to win 9 out of 11 to get 107 wins and break their franchise record of 106. That was set in 1904 when they were the New York Giants. They finish out their series with the Padres tonight and tomorrow. Then they go to Colorado for 3, Arizona for 3 at home, and then Padres for 3 at home to end the year. What do you guys think? You think they get the 107?
It's doable. They're. I think they'll definitely get to 106. 107. I mean, yeah. I mean, the Padres look done. They look defeated. So, I mean, if you take these 2 road games here, there's no reason you won't get to one. I think if you guys win today and tomorrow, you'll get to 107.
They better get to 107 because I don't know if the Dodgers are going to not win 8 or 10 of 11 or 9 of 11 the rest of the way. So that should be their goal to get there. And I'll tell you what, the team who does not win the division does not want to see the St. Louis Cardinals in the wild card game right now. They are red hot. They've won like 8 or 9 in a row.
10.
10 in a row now, and they're going to throw out Jack Flaherty in that wild card game.
Dude's a baller.
Yeah, I don't want to see them in a one-game playoff, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like a month or 2 ago, you're thinking, oh, we go to the wild card game if the Dodgers win the division. We put Gausman out there. He's lights out. We win the game. Gausman gave up 4 runs last night. 4 runs. I think 3 on the long ball, 3 solo shots. This guy's 2 pitches right now. One of them he can't throw for a strike in his splitter, right? Everybody's sitting fastball. It's brutal to watch. He's given up at least 3 runs, I think, in his last 4 or 5 starts. Last night with 4. It's concerning. It's very concerning. But I think they'll get the 107. I think they went out here in San Diego, sweep San Diego. I mean, last night, San Diego was up 4-1 midway through the game. Giants come back, win that game 6-5. That's as demoralizing as it gets. I think the Giants, they have a bullpen day today, and then tomorrow Logan Webb to pitch. So as long as the bullpen does their job today, they should be able to finish out the series with 2 wins. Colorado, Arizona can't play down to the competition. Finish out at home against the Padres, set the franchise record, and clinch the division at home to end the year. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this team. I like our chances, but yes, we must avoid that wild card game. And please, St. Louis, if you see the Dodgers, please keep up the momentum and get them out of the playoffs. That would be beautiful.
What do you guys think today for World Series matchups?
Chris, you can go.
I'm gonna go Brewers over White Sox.
I'm gonna go Giants over the Astros.
I'm going to take the Astros over the Brewers.
So 3 solid takes. We'll see how they play out. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Straight Out the Lou. Stay tuned for more content and read our column in the Bates Student. Thank you very much.